Grab the duct tape and mentally prepare yourself for yet another mind-expanding knowledge bomb from America's #1 business coach, Clay Clark.
That's it. Bombs away.
Boom, 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 and boom. Welcome back to another exciting edition of the Thrivetime Show on your radio and podcast download. And Eric Chupp, on today's show, we are talking about how to climb the startup mountain, why most people quit only 20% of the way there. My friend, your mom and dad had a construction business. How long did they run that thing?
I was right around 32 years, I believe, 33 years.
Do you remember the bottom, like when it was the absolute worst? Because they had a lot of high points, too.
Oh,
But can you think of a moment where you go, that was rough?
My parents are great people. I got to see the spectrum from like nothing. I used to eat mustard sardines as a kid. That was that was what was good. Me and my dad would sit down and eat mustard-covered sardines. But then I got to graduate college.
No, wait. You ate mustard. What did you eat?
I bought some just the other day to try them, and they are disgusting.
Now, I've never had sardines, but just looking at them makes me
Well, the mustard helps, okay? So I'll put it that way. The mustard helps. But then I also got to graduate college with 2 degrees debt-free.
Nice.
Thanks to my parents being able to afford to send me to school.
There it is.
So definitely got to see all the ups, all the downs, all the late nights, everything that goes on behind the scenes. Many stories.
I have a little quote I put in the bathroom next to the urinal.
Yes.
In the offices.
Use the spray.
Where we wrote, you must be able to deposit all of your you must be able to deposit all of your dreams here if you're not willing to work 60 hours per week without praise for 5 years.
Minimum.
And I put an arrow pointing towards the urinal.
Right.
Because a lot of people have an idea to start a company, and then when it gets a little bit tough, they bail.
So many. And
so what I'm going to do is I'm going to read off some examples of people that took a long time to achieve success. And then we have Dr. Breck in the house here. Dr. Breck, how are you, sir?
I'm well. How are you?
Hey, I am excited to have you on the show. For the listeners out there that are not familiar with you, how many years have you been a chiropractor?
About 15.
And how many years have you been a self-employed chiropractor?
About 15.
And how many years were you going through the hell of barely breaking even or not being able to pay yourself very much?
Oh, goodness. About 13 and a half.
Okay. So,
he knows those numbers right there.
Okay, so here we go. So Amazon. Chup, have you ever heard of Amazon?
Yeah, they're overnight success.
Those guys took 9 years to make a profit.
What?
Walt Disney. I don't know if you are aware of this, but Walt Disney lost everything twice.
Come on.
Tesla. Tesla is the automotive company that many think is going to replace some of the big automakers out there, but it took them 10 years to make a profit. Thomas Edison, Chup. Thomas Edison. How long do you think it took Thomas Edison to... how many experiments would you guess, Chup, that it took Thomas Edison to create a working version of the light bulb? Some say he stole the idea from Tesla himself.
Right.
But how many experiments do you think it had to take him before he came up with a functional light bulb prototype?
Luckily, I have access to the show notes. 10,000 failed experiments.
Now,
10,000.
Henry Ford. This guy, you ever heard of Ford Automotive?
Yeah, I have one.
Ford Automobiles, okay, Ford Motor Company. Henry Ford, this is a deep thought for you. Henry Ford lost it all 5 times.
Come on.
Now, let me role play that real quick, okay? So let's say that I'm Henry Ford, and you're my guy. You're my neighbor. You're my neighbor. You live in my town.
Hey, Henry, are we British or are we?
You are related to me, or you have this. You live in the town that I'm from.
We have a relation.
Yeah, and I've lost it all 3 times.
Okay.
I walk into the local bar. Okay, so Henry Ford walks into a local bar.
Hey, Henry, what's up, man?
After having lost it all 3 times. What are you thinking?
That you're a nut.
And then I say, here's the deal, guys. I don't want to call it a comeback, but I've got this new idea.
We're going to make it happen.
And you know what they always say is if you don't make it on the 3rd time, right, the 4th time,
the charm.
That's the charm. Like, no, that's not what they say at all.
Hey.
And then I lose it all again. And I come back and I'm like, guys, here is the deal. At what point do your friends mentally hit the... I mean, at what point, like, stop asking us for money?
Right?
Seriously.
Was he married? He was a married guy, right?
Yes.
As soon as you brought that up, I'm thinking, what is his wife going through right now?
FedEx. Think about this. FedEx took 10 years to make a profit. Facebook, after 3 years in business, Mark Zuckerberg had lost $3 million.
That stings the nostrils.
Do you realize how much money that is?
That's right at $3 million.
Dr. Breck, when you started,
Made me feel better.
He's like, all right, I feel pretty good here.
This just in. Dr. Breck, when you started, Chup is a math wizard. Okay, here we go. So, Dr. Breck, when you started your chiropractic business, how much startup capital did it take to get started?
Oh, goodness. That's been a while. Honestly, chiropractic, thankfully, is not a very expensive business to get into from strictly business standpoint, once you got schooling out of the way. So it's about $50,000 to get going.
And let me just put here on the show notes, Chef. Let's put startup costs for a chiropractor, okay? And we'll put them on the show notes. I just want to go over some things that I think are hidden costs that maybe you'll remember as I bring them up.
Sure.
Your lease per month when you first opened, what was the lease per month?
I had a very small space, and my lease was about $1,200.
$1,200? Okay. Yeah. So did you do a 5-year lease or a 3-year lease?
3-year.
3-year. Okay. So just so we're clear for our listeners out there, if you take $1,200 a month times 12 months, let me get the calculator there. 12 months times 1,200. That would be $14,400 a year. And you had a 5-year lease?
A 3-year.
3-year. Okay. 3-year lease. So, Chuck, that's a $43,000 debt on the books when you sign that lease. That's a pretty big commitment.
Okay. Yeah.
And then it's about $50,000 of startup
equipment, computers, tables, therapy, X-ray unit. That was probably the biggest single cost.
What does a good X-ray unit cost these days?
Well, I think I have one in my garage. So if anybody's out there listening and wants one, I think I could let it go for about $8,000. But
$8,000
for me, it cost me about $35,000.
Clay, you should add to your chiropractic collection that you have in the man cave.
Hey.
Let me ask you, how many X-rays can you give yourself a day before it's dangerous?
We try to minimize it, so I'm going to go with 0 to yourself. Okay. Let's start with none.
Guys, let's take a look inside again.
Look at my elbow, guys.
That would be a fun thing for a bunch of drinking buddies to have.
Oh, some of the pictures you'd get.
Oh boy. Okay. All right. Wow. Okay.
Oh, Billy.
All right. So $50,000 in equipment. You got $1,200 per month in lease. What are other expenses or obligations? Did you hire anybody, or did you start off by yourself, or what?
I was a one-man band, and I've said it many times. It did not sound very pretty.
The one-man band? Chubb, I think I have audio of his first one-man band chiropractic performance. Can I cue it up?
Please do.
All right, folks, step right up here. Let's get it cracking.
Anybody? Oh.
Rock the Casbah. Rock the... All right, that's not audio. That was just...
If you only had Clay back then.
Exactly.
Would have been
All right, so you get started. And Dr. Breck, when did you hit that Henry Ford moment where he lost it all and he's like, okay, let's rebound? Or maybe you hit the bottom and you thought, okay, I am really close to the bottom. When did you hit the low point in your career?
Oh, I was probably about 4 years in when hope was starting to dwindle more and more.
And what did you do to encourage yourself? Did you watch a bunch of motivational movies? Did you read books?
Right.
Did you taser yourself? What did you do?
A little bit of everything. So thankfully, my wife stuck with me, continued to support me. But I also talked to a coach. My uncle had guided some people in business before, and so I reached out to those I could talk to that would allow me to give me access. And then I read books as well.
But you said it was how many years in there before you?
I was about 4 years in. So the first couple of years, you're gung ho, you're excited. There's all this wind in your sails. Nothing can take you down. You just know it's a matter of time. And then as time progresses, you're not so sure that that's really the key that's missing. Is just a matter of time, because the time's been there and you're still struggling and kind of grudging through the process.
Now, okay, for the listeners out there that maybe don't have a full context of you and your career, I would encourage I encourage the listeners right now to go to drbreck.com, DRBRECK.com, because now you're doing well, and things are going really well for you. But a lot of people they get stuck, and they are just so overwhelmed by being stuck they can't even remember why they're stuck or where they're stuck or how they got stuck. Do you remember the areas where you were stuck 4 years in, where you needed that help?
Absolutely. I'm not very good at self-promotion, so that was a big part of it for me. Also, chiropractic, you really need an entrepreneurial spirit, and I don't know if that was really my strong suit. And, of course, not having a team in place makes a big difference. So when you're trying to do everything yourself, you lack a certain professionalism. I was trying to keep costs down, but at the same time I was pinching pennies to save half pennies, it seems. There's just so many factors looking back, but I also find you can get lost just trying to drive forward looking in the rearview mirror, and you just get stuck on past decisions and and wish I could, and it ends up nowhere.
Oh,
So let's. I want to go through the three areas that I think you teed up there of where you were stuck. Because I think this is powerful for somebody out there. One is just not good at self-promotion, not being good at self-promotion. I don't know. What is your religious background? Are you Judeo-Christian? Yeah, okay, there you go. So Christian, Chup, as a general rule, the Christian clients we work with, they pretty much universally struggle with this idea.
humble people.
Seriously.
Yeah.
This is like a huge thing. It's our Christian clients, they typically will under-promote themselves. They'll go to a networking event and someone will say, well, what do you do? And they might say, I'm a chiropractor. I feel like I offer quality service. But they won't say, here's the deal. I'm the freaking best chiropractor that the world has ever seen. A lot of times I draw pictures of myself and I sign it for myself because I'm so impressed with myself. So if you're looking for the best chiropractor, then use me. And then someone else will put their hand up and go, I'm a chiropractor too. Hey, sit down, buddy. You're the second best. I'm number one. Well, a lot of people don't do that, though. A lot of Christians just don't self-promote, but you have to promote your business. And so I want to ask you, mentally, how did you shift through that? How did you get, because you're still humble, but how did you push past the mental barrier that self-promotion was not necessarily a great thing?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know that I have a great answer for that, that I've really sat down and thought about it, other than...
Maybe necessity? You just had to?
Yeah, necessity. I think I had heard from a long time ago, and this is the problem with having a good memory that God's blessed me with, but is that I had heard from some time back where if you blow your own horn, it's only so loud, but if somebody else blows it for you, it's 10 times louder. And that had just stuck with me. And so it's like, okay, well, I just need that cheerleader to go blow the horn for me. And if I find that, then I'm good. But I don't need to be the one out there, being my own Don King.
Oh, wow. Being your own Don.
Throwback
we
reference.
don't get a lot of Don King references, but I wish we had more of those. That's a 2 mega points for you.
Nice.
Don King's hair. Don King's hair was impressive. Now, this is something I do agree with what you just said, that if you can have somebody else promote your business, it's better. And I agree with that. I think a lot of times, though, you're starting a business and there's nobody else to promote you. And
Absolutely
so
true.
Self-promotion is something that somebody out there needed to hear. You got to push through that. You got to get to a place where you realize that in order for you to grow, you're going to have to let people know what you do. In order to grow, you've got to let people know what you do. And if people don't know you're a chiropractor or they don't know where you're located, as an example, Dr. Breck, where are you located?
I am just south of 51st and Sheridan. So 5401 South Sheridan, Tulsa, Oklahoma.
And my understanding is for anybody listening today, if they come in to your business, you're going to give them a free consultation.
Yes, sir.
A free exam.
Yes, sir.
Is it a free adjustment as well?
It is.
All free.
Yeah,
For the
and
first
an
time.
X-ray if you need it.
And an X-ray.
Yeah.
Or, Chubb, if you don't need it, but you're just looking for a good time.
You're right.
X-rated.
What? Whoa, Chubb.
I mean, X-rays. I
Chubb,
thought that was
Chubb,
past
X-ray.
tense for
Chubb,
X-ray.
Real quick. All right, so we continue. We continue now.
That hurt, Clay.
Okay. Now, think about this. Think about this.
And I will say that there was a point where I started out and about. I would hear people's complaints about chiropractors.
Yeah.
And I did start to realize, like, there's a lot of people that aren't doing a phenomenal job. And it frustrates me to a certain degree. And so it's like, I am giving my very best. I'm giving my all to every single patient. And you start to get your fill of hearing these negative stories, and you're like, no. There is something better. There are options. I've just got to let you know that I am here. I am the man.
Woo.
And it's starting to
We're the whole man.
to grab hold of that and hang on to it.
Nice.
Chubb, I think we're all very clear that he's a man.
Well, by looking at him, I
Chubb,
can
let me give you. There are exactly 9 tips for becoming a unemployed talk show host guy. Okay? So, tip number 1, tip number 1, you question the gender of the guest. Now, there's other tips, but I'm gonna for sake of time, let me skip to one of the later tips. We have there's several tips here for how to become an unemployed talk show host. And you and I are on the verge of becoming unemployed if we continue down this trail. But tip 1 is you definitely don't want to question the gender of the guest. And here's another tip for the listeners out there who are wondering, what are the tips for becoming an unemployed talk show host?
Probably my best tip is tip number 8. Always keep bags of your own poop. Collect it throughout your stay and just have it ready.
See, that's a tip. That's a tip for becoming an unemployed talk show host.
I need to get rid of these bags.
You really do learn something new every day.
All right. Now, the next limiting factor you talked about was operating without a team. At what point did you get to a place financially where you could hire somebody else to help you?
Well, around that same, probably about 3.5 years, I finally reluctantly went ahead and hired an assistant. And man, the crazy part is I knew it was bad from day one, and I let it go for about 3 months, and then finally had to fire her. And I was like, I don't know why I waited 3 months.
No, we talk about that with clients a lot. Hire fast, fire fast, right?
Yeah. So real quick,
that would have saved me a lot of
I want to make sure
heartache.
we're getting this, because some listener out there is going through this.
Right
I want to
now.
make sure that I am empathizing and I come across as caring, because I do. I remember when I was growing DJ Connection, I would Chup. Here's how it would go. Here's the workflow. Step 1, I ran Yellow Page ads.
Mm-hmm.
Step 2, the phone would ring.
Ring.
I'd book the deal.
Booked.
Step 3, I would DJ.
DJ'd.
I always got great feedback. Step 4, I would deposit $600 in my account. So I would do 3 of those a week. I'm making like $1,800 a week DJing, right?
Feeling pretty good.
But then I never had time to grow beyond 3 shows because I was DJing the shows.
Right.
So I thought, I need to hire somebody. Well, I hired my first guy, and let's say after taxes, it was approximately $400 a week. So now I'm making less money than I used to make, and every time that guy answered the phone, he would just destroy any inbound lead. I'm not kidding. Anytime someone would call, he would destroy them with apathy, sarcasm, and he thought just through entropy and quoting prices that somehow money would cometh to us.
Yeah, that's how it works.
So the phone would ring, boop, 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 and I used to say, "Thank you for calling DJ Connection. This is the incredible Mr. Clay Clark. How can I help make your day great?" Something like that. And I didn't script it out, And he would answer the phone, "So DJ Connection, what up?" Like every time. He always sounded like he was just waking up.
Yeah, it probably was, right?
I pulled him aside and I said, "Dude, are you high?" That's what I said. And he said, "Yeah, bro. Yeah, man. I'll get it together."
Is
man.
that wrong? Should I not?
No, I'm not kidding. And to this day, he's one of the leading people in Oklahoma who promotes the legalized pot movement. Unbelievable. He's
consistent.
a Facebook superstar. But the point is, the phone would ring, and he would just destroy all the deals. But I was loyal. And I stuck with that guy for probably...
He's a good guy,
I probably stuck with that dude for a year.
Oh.
He used to wear a shirt with a tie, and then jeans and sandals without shoes.
Socks.
Or socks, I mean.
Okay.
He wore sandals without socks. He'd come in...
And a shirt and tie.
And he definitely hadn't taken a shower because I made him wear a tie.
That tells you what's going on at the foundational level right there.
So, Dr. Breck, I held on to a guy for a year. Why did you hold on to a guy for 3.5 months?
Oh, that's a great question. I still don't have a good answer for why.
I think it's because I think it goes back to our first principle. You're not a self-promoter. You want to be humble. But 2, Christians don't want to be judgers.
Yeah.
Empathetic, too, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to be people that fire people, right?
Well, I think I took a certain amount of responsibility on myself. Maybe I didn't train her properly. Maybe, there were some things on me. Like I didn't set her up for success. And so
in a way,
trying to work through it.
In a way, you'd be firing yourself.
Yeah.
A little piece of yourself.
I did a bad job of
I'm not going to
hiring
mention
in the first place.
I'm not going to mention the specific book today because I feel like I've mentioned it enough here, Chuck. But there are books that are written that would lead most of the listeners to believe.
You may be a cynic of these books,
right? And so let me give you an example. I'll pull it up here, Chuck. And I'm not going to read the title of the book here, Chuck. I'm not going to. But you could read the title of the book. But there are a lot of leadership books out there that are written that would make you as the owner feel bad if your people on your team aren't always motivated. Yeah. So let me give you one title. Chuck, can you read the title here?
It says, "Start with why. How great leaders inspire everyone to take action."
Everyone. I'm not really in tune with the English language. I'm still learning it right now.
Yeah, no.
But everyone would imply
all people.
All people.
Right.
And that great leaders can inspire everyone.
Can do that.
And what I have learned throughout my years as an entrepreneur is that the great leaders are able to find great people and then teach them a skill.
Yeah.
But they don't sit there and have endless character counseling sessions. And what kind of jackassery was done during those first 3 months there, Dr. Breck? Was it just negligence? Was it just ridiculousness? What was going on?
Just a certain, I don't know, laissez-faire, lack of concern, care. There's a certain professionalism and attention to detail that's maybe expected in a medical professional office.
Right.
And that was lacking for sure.
Right. So thank you for coming to Dr. Breck's office. What's your name? Greg. Okay, Craig.
Yeah.
Thanks, Todd.
What are you here for? Did you get in a car accident or what happened? No, he's have lower back pain. Okay, Dr. Breck, we've got Craig here with a car accident issue. I mean, that kind of stuff.
Craig's foot fell off. He needs to see a chiropractor.
Now, okay, so then
Cruising the internet for, endless,
all day.
All day, yeah.
By the way, and this
Watching
would be,
the water cooler drip
this was
onto
back
the
in the
floor
day.
instead of actually turning the little nozzle back.
This was back in the day where the internet was slow, too.
Yes.
So you'd click it doing,
Yeah.
So this had to be a committed internet person. Okay, now after you let this person go, when did you finally find somebody that was good help, good people?
Well, I actually had an opportunity back in 2009 to kind of cut cost, and another chiropractor, Dr. Chad Keeney, he was looking to do the same thing, and so we actually went in together.
Ooh.
And this was help advice from the coach that you guys both have redundant spaces and things that you're not using in your office all the time, and so this may be a way to maximize or benefit off one another. And so we actually practiced side by side for a couple of years. And what's crazy is somewhere in the back when I was, trying to figure this out on my own, I'd come across, this vision board idea and the secret. And so I had created a vision board because I had, all this endless time on my hands that I wasn't
With no
using
patience.
well.
Right.
And so, but what was crazy about that is I had actually found pictures of assistants that would be helping me. And sure enough, 3 pictures, just ladies in scrubs, looking like they were happy to be at work.
Yeah.
And I go into his office the first day to kind of set everything up, and he's got 3 ladies that look just like these 3 women.
And happy to be there.
And happy to be there.
That's good.
And so that was really the first time I started to really grab hold of the benefit and the necessity of having that team around me. I can't do it all.
So you, after how many years was that before you finally found the good team?
So that was about 5 years.
5 years in. Now,
Yeah.
again, before you go out there going, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. Think about this. Google. Larry Page and Sergey Brin, arguably some of the wealthiest people in the world right now, they didn't make a profit at all from 1996 to 1999, and they first started Google, and they called it Backrub.
That's right.
That was the original name, was Backrub. So
Weird.
I don't know.
A little weird.
Yeah, a little bit.
Can't
So-
tell why it didn't catch on.
ESPN didn't make a profit from 1978 to 1985. Now, Chup, here is a guy that has Dr. Breck beat. I mean, we're talking about self-promotion. If you're promoting staying at the bottom for as long as possible,
This guy's
guy's got you beat.
This guy sucks.
All right, so let's talk about Dr. Dyson with the vacuum. How long did it Chup, read to us a little bit of details about the good Dr. Dyson.
Good Dr. Dyson. It took him 15 years and 5,127 attempts to create his first functional bagless cyclonic vacuum that entered into the actual marketplace.
Could you imagine what it would be like to be married to that guy?
From 30 to 45. Just grinding it out.
What are you doing down there? Does it suck? Yeah, it does.
Not yet.
It doesn't work. Unbelievable. Ziploc. Talk to us about Ziploc, Chup.
It took the inventors of Ziploc 17 years to crack the marketplace. Now, that is astonishing because the Ziploc bag is ubiquitous and wonderful. I use it all the time.
Chup, I have a deep thought here from whoever knew Mr. Ziploc at the
Mr.
time.
Ziploc, yeah.
Year 1, does it work? No. Year 2, does it work? No. Year 3, are you in a store yet? No. Year 4, does it work? No. Year 5, does it work? No. Year 6, does it work? 7, 8, 9, 10, does it work? Is it in a store yet? No. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, is it in a store yet?
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
And 17 years in.
Woo!
We're in a store.
Crack the marketplace. Yeah.
We are in one store. It's called Lou's. It's Lou. I know a guy, and he's allowed me to put my stuff in a store. We'll have, hopefully they'll carry a few bags. Now, Abraham Lincoln, imagine that you were related to Abraham Lincoln. Imagine you knew this guy. Chup, read off his resume of success.
President Abraham Lincoln failed in business in 1833.
Okay, that's failure number 1.
His girlfriend died.
By the way, let me
set the tone.
Hey, please, here's the deal. I want you, don't take the drama out of this situation, okay? Because I think a lot of times what you're going to do is you're going to rush through this great story. Okay, just read it, and I'll provide some nice echo. Here we go, Chup.
President Abraham Lincoln failed in business 1833. Girlfriend died 1835. Had a nervous breakdown in 1836. Defeated for nomination in Congress in 1843. He's on fire. Rejected for land officer in 1849. Defeated for U.S. Senate 1854. Defeated for nomination of Vice President, 1856. Things aren't going well. Defeated for U.S. Senate, 1858. Not good. Elected President of the United States of America, 1860.
Unbelievable. Thank you, Harry
27
Carey.
years of failure.
And now known as our
president.
best
Right.
U.S. president of all
Right.
history.
So let's go ahead and read a notable quote from Mr. Bill Gates. There's somebody out there who's, I mean this, listen to me, Mr. Listener, Mrs. Listener. I mean this. You can achieve success if you will commit to not quitting. But if you're somebody who's going to try it out for a while and see if it works.
Just dip a toe in.
You're just going to give it a couple years to see if it works. I'll just see if it gets some momentum. I'm just going to put some energy into this and see if it works. If that's what you're going to do, then you need to quit right now. Like, you need to quit right now and go get a job. Entrepreneurship is not for people that can. Entrepreneurship is a career that should not be entered into by most people. I think most people do not have the resilience needed to make it. So I know you, the listener right now, do, right? Right? Are you with me? You got the resiliency, but most people, they can't handle this. I'm going to try it for 2 years and see.
Yeah. Tell me if you think this is, or if you agree with this, Clay. I've seen this a lot. The real entrepreneurs out there, when they get an option that somebody's going to loan them some money to get their business going, they're excited about it.
Right.
And people that are not entrepreneurs freak out. They're like, oh, should I take a loan? I don't know if that's going to work. I don't know.
100% correct.
That's what I saw in my parents, my grandfather, everybody I've known that's run a business. When they found that opportunity, it was like the win. I got some funding. Yes, let's do this.
Another example would be President Trump. A lot of people don't recognize his career and his history, and whether you like him or not, his father had built up a large group of multifamily units, apartments in New York, and Donald was able to turn them around, make them more profitable, and he started renovating major hotels, and he was deeply in debt, billions of dollars all throughout his career. And even today, he's got a lot of debt on the balance sheet, but entrepreneurs don't really freak out about that.
Recoil from that.
Okay, Chuck. Read the notable quote from Mr. Bill Gates.
One William Gates, co-founder of Microsoft. He says, I never took a day off in my 20s, not one. And I'm still fanatical, but now I'm a little less fanatical. I play tennis, I play bridge, I spend time with my family.
Never took a day off when?
In his 20s.
Dr. Breck, how many days a week were you working at 3.5 years in? Were you working 5 days a week, 6 days a week? What did your schedule look like?
And I was seeing patients 5 days a week. But, yeah, we're working on the business or doing things for the business at least 6 days a week.
6 days?
Yeah, I take Sunday as my my Sabbath.
Now, this is a big idea for the listeners out there.
Right.
Chuck, we can put the Bible verses on the show notes here. But if we look up Exodus, let me put up Exodus and sixth day. Let me pull it up real quick here. Okay, Exodus 16:5. Exodus 16:5 reads, "On the sixth day they are to prepare what they bring in, and that is to be twice as much as they gather on the other days." The sixth day.
What?
In Genesis in the Bible, it talks about God created the earth in 6 days and took off the seventh. I don't know successful entrepreneurs. I've never met a successful entrepreneur that did not work 6 days per week en route to achieving their success. Now, Elon Musk, who is not a Judeo-Christian, but who has a very similar worldview about the sixth day principle, Chuck, he has a notable quotable for all the listeners out there.
He says, work like hell. I mean, you just have to put in 80 to 100-hour work weeks. This improves the odds of success. If other people are putting in 40-hour work weeks and you're putting in 100-hour work weeks, then even if you're doing the same thing, you know that you will achieve in 4 months what it takes them to achieve in a year.
Dr. Breck, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the President of the United States, who in 1938 instituted the Fair Labor Standards Act, he basically came up with the idea. He invented the notion and the concept of the 40-hour work week. From your perspective as a chiropractor and as an entrepreneur, what will happen to somebody's business if they act like a 40-hour per week employee when they own their own business and they're just getting started?
I think you'll go right back to being an employee. You know, if you act like an employee, I think that's where you're going to end up. Like you said, not everybody's meant to be an entrepreneur. And if that's kind of your mentality, I would say honestly, I have a friend of mine. He once said he was looking out his door when he was at his darkest point, because this is not an uncommon thing in chiropractic. So, you know, we get into it to help people and to serve people, but many of us are not entrepreneurs. We're not, business minded, and there's not a hospital to go to like our MD counterparts.
Right.
And so there's very few jobs to just go out and get. So this guy's in his practice at his lowest point, and he literally sees the trash guy go by, and he feels jealous. He's worked he's worked without a day off, and this guy has no care in the world, and he's going to get a check at the end of the day.
And he gets a run on the back of that truck.
So I mean, he's ahead of where this guy is with his doctorate. And so I mean, I think that principle holds true for all of us. You know, if you just want to collect a check and you don't want the responsibility, you don't want to have to put in those extra hours that make the difference, you're going to be the employee.
And I'm not attacking you out there if you're listening to today's show and you realize that you don't have what it takes to be self-employed. That's okay. But the worst thing that you can do for your family, for yourself, for your psychological health, for your relationships, is to say that you have what it takes to be an entrepreneur, but then not to put in the work.
Here, speaking
Totally
of the work,
agree.
speaking of the work, we had a very spirited contributor to our last workshop, one Mr. Michael Levine, PR guru to the stars. He had a notable quotable that stuck with me. He said, "It takes 40 hours to make a living and 40 hours to make a fortune." Let's do some math. What's 40 plus 40? So it's like,
right.
You got to work 80 hours a week if you want to do that.
And if you don't, it's okay. It's okay. It's just understand that there are luxury boxes at arenas, and those are reserved for people that have worked the 80-hour work week to make it happen.
Oh, ouch.
Luxury cars, those are reserved for people that work the 80 hours to make it happen. There is a massive disparity in the income of the top performers and everybody else because the people at the top are willing to put the work in. I'll just give you an example. We are recording this show today because of the Christmas holiday. We are recording this on Sunday the 23rd.
Christmas Eve.
Festivus. We're recording this. The official time is 6:26 a.m. I've been up since 4:30 a.m. because I'm editing a book right now. And so on a Sunday morning, I'm editing a book between 4:30 in the morning and 6. And then until the kids until we go to church at 9, I'm going to be working. That's what we're doing.
Right.
So again, why? Well, the kids don't miss me. They're asleep. It's a time to get it done. We have Christmas coming. This is a daily radio show. So when you hear this show on Monday, this has to be recorded. We have to have content every single day. But yet it would be Christmas Eve, and I'm going to spend time with my family during Christmas Eve. And so therefore, we're recording this show, Chup, at 6 in the morning on a Sunday.
That's right.
But a lot of people would say, do you get paid overtime for that?
No. We got to get it done.
You got to get it done. Now, here is the danger. This is the final point I want to provide the listeners here. If you really want to have success, Chup, you say to yourself, I want to have success.
Oh, I want it.
Success.
I feel it.
You just say to yourself, I need the success. You've read the Tony Robbins books. You've read the Napoleon Hill books.
You've read them.
You've read the John Maxwell books. You have read the books. You've read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. But you don't want to put in the work. But you've read the books. You love the idea of wealth, but you haven't been willing to delay the gratification.
That's the hard part.
So here's what you do, Chuck. You go on YouTube. And you're going to find a get-rich-quick guy. He's going to play on your emotions. He's going to say, are you working 60 hours a week? Are you thinking to yourself there has to be a better way? Do you want to get time freedom and financial freedom? Well, enroll in my class today, and for as little as blah, blah, blah per month, you're going to create a click funnel that will create automated wealth. And all of a sudden, they start talking about passive income. So now you find yourself at a conference or a seminar.
I want passive income.
And the guy who's speaking says, how many of you today, put your hand up, how many of you today have been working more than 60 hours a week? And we're like, that's me. How many of you here would like to have passive income? That would be me. How many of you here would love to have mailbox money? Okay. So pretty soon, you've signed up for the no money down, real estate, get rich quick, multi-level, whatever that is, Chup. And when that happens, when you turn to that as your final option, because you refuse to embrace the life hack. The only life hack there is to work hard. But you've decided to rebuke and push against the idea of diligence, and you decided to embrace the get-rich-quick idea as your final grasp at success. What happens, Chuck?
You fail. It takes longer to get rich quick.
Dr. Breck, what happens?
You fail. I totally agree. I mean, it does. It takes longer to get rich quick.
I remember when I was going to I was probably 22, and the DJ business was just becoming profitable. And a buddy of mine said, do you want to go to the Get Motivated seminar?
Let's get motivated.
And I'm going, yeah, I do want to go. Who's going? He goes, Colin Powell. I said, Boom Boom Powell. I'm there.
I was there.
Were you there?
I was there.
So Colin Powell, and they've got, it was some guy who was all about up arrows and down arrows for investing, green arrows, red arrows. Let me find the guy. It was Phil Town. Phil Town. Phil Town was speaking. Phil Town, you had Colin Powell. I think Joe Montana was there.
Joe Montana.
Sure. The NFL. The NFL.
He was a linebacker.
He was the NFL quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers.
Correct.
I think there's other people that were famous that were there.
There were a lot of famous.
Zig
folks.
Ziglar was there.
Zig Ziglar was there. Yeah.
He was like losing his mind.
His daughter kind of interviewed him to help.
Okay, and there was something else. I can't remember, but anyway, it was like there was a bunch of big names there.
Yeah, Colin Powell really pulled me in. I was excited, but not a great public speaker.
So I go there. No, seriously. So I go there to learn, to learn the skills, and then sandwiched in between a famous person, there'd be someone you knew.
Yeah.
And then there would be a slick talker. And as we went into day 2, it was like only slick talkers, basically. There was one big guy at the beginning and one big guy at the end, but you had to stick around because you never were sure when they were going to, you weren't sure when the big celebrity was going to come out. So you had to stick around. And they were trying to sell this system where you put no money down somehow and you end up flipping houses. That was the system they're trying to teach. Mm-hmm. And then they would approve you for credit or something. You could get credit right there. And they also had some kind of wealth building system where it would email you a green arrow or a red down arrow. Do you remember this?
Yeah, there was. I remember one. They were promoting a course on how to invest in the market and how to understand and read the market. But yeah, I remember each speaker came up. It was kind of like trying to work through the commercials, on your favorite program. You're just trying to get past those.
There
so
was
you
no
get to
fast
the content.
forward button, though.
No fast forward. Yeah.
And then they said, hey, we charge $10,000 for this program,
Right.
typically. But today only, it's going to be $8,000. And then Tamara would look over at Peter and go, "What? What? No, what? Peter, you can't go that low." He's like, "Oh, I'm going to go that low."
Try and stop me.
How many of you want to lower the price today? Tulsa, how many of you want to lower the price? Woo! And he's like, "No, Tamara, we can't go lower than $6,000." She's like, "Well, good, because we're already losing money." And he's like, "No, here, now, Tamara, I got to tell you, I talked to the guys behind the stage. I let you know we've worked some things together. I've made some things happen. We've done some changes. And right now, for only $4,000, we're going to do this. But we're only going to do it for the first 500 people. So we just want to gauge the interest here. If you're interested, just put. And pretty soon, you remember that everybody went down there.
Oh yeah,
and signed up for this $4,000 package. And I am not exaggerating. There's probably 500 people that paid $4,000 right there.
You can't find a house to flip in Tulsa.
It was unbelievable.
They all got in on it.
It was like, I bet you it was $2 million was paid just right there. And then they had a course you could attend afterwards. There was a free class at the Renaissance Hotel. I could not go. So my wife went to the free class. And they basically got you into smaller groups and just beat you over the head that if you did not sign up, you were an idiot.
It's like a timeshare presentation.
Dude, it was brutal. It was brutal. But that is the final.
I don't want to sign up.
I mean it though. That's what entrepreneurs do. They haven't quit yet, but they quit mentally.
Oh yeah.
What they do is they turn to get rich quick moves. And that right there, what happens when you do that, Dr. Breck? I'm sure you've seen that before. What happens when you start investing the little capital you have in get rich quick moves?
You mean besides when your wife is like rolling her eyes at you and fussing? I did this. I mean, I did this a few times. So I guess I shouldn't go into names of products.
You don't have to do it, no.
But I mean, we'll say there were at least 3. I mean, of course, tons of people made a ton of money, but I didn't make any.
Right.
But so that little bit of capital that I had made that would have fed my kids. If I just get this invested here, then we're gonna make it. This is our break. This is So hope. I mean, you're hanging on to this last thread of hope, but in the end, it was false.
I just think if you're out there today,
it's a mirage,
and it is a mirage. It's the Mirage Mahal, Chup. The Mirage Mahal. If you're out there today and you're saying to yourself, you know what, I need practical coaching, practical feedback, practical help, and I don't have any money, then I'm going to give you a whole bunch of free stuff right now. Okay, so free item number 1. If you go to thrivetimeshow.com, you can download today. You can download the Start Here book for free. And in the Start Here book, Dr. Zeller and I, we lay out all of the systems that we use to grow real companies. It's free to download. Go to thrivetimeshow.com. You can download the Start Here book for free. Free item number 2, Chup. Each and every show that we record on the radio is archived as a podcast.
That's true.
And that is free for all of the listeners. It's free.
Free 90 free.
So that's free. The book is free.
The book is free.
The ebook is free. Now, another tool that is not free but kind of close.
Close to free.
If you're out there listening today and you want to attend one of our workshops and you can't afford the $250, the actual ticket, what we're doing is if you leave us a review on iTunes or on Google, you just leave us a review there, subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and leave us a review, or you can leave us a review on the Google map and just take a screenshot of it, and you can email it to info@thrivetimeshow.com, info@thrivetimeshow.com. We will give you the ticket for free, and your only cost is $37 for the lunch for both days and the boom book.
That's right.
For Dr. Breck, for anybody who has not attended a workshop, could you kind of explain the kinds of things that we teach at the workshop and maybe what your experience has been like at the workshops?
Well, you teach strategy. You teach things about the internet and SEO, search engine optimization. A lot of networking in between the segments as well. So you're meeting other entrepreneurs, you're hearing other people's stories, and then guest speakers from leadership, communication. When I first attended the conference, there was a guy talking about selling the phone book, which I thought was crazy.
Right.
That this guy could actually continue to sell ads in the phone book.
In today's market.
In today's market.
Paul Arnold in today's market makes a fortune selling phone books.
That's inspiration. I mean,
Yeah, it's
I would have
awesome.
thought that's a completely lost art.
Now, let me ask you this here. For any of the listeners out there that want to get a free consultation from you, Dr. Breck, a free adjustment for the listeners out there living in Tulsa, Oklahoma, go ahead and give us your website, your phone number, and the no-brainer offer that you're making today.
Yeah, so the website is drbreck.com, drbreck.com. The phone number you can call to get that free consultation, exam, x-rays, and your first adjustment, all at no cost, no obligation, is 918-494-2698.
Again, that phone number is
918-494-2698.
And that website is drbreck.com, drbreck, BRECK.com. Chup, I want to ask you and Dr. Breck this final question here before we wrap up today's show. For the listeners out there, for any listener out there who has been in business for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, whatever, and they're not profitable, and they're not really putting in the 60 to 70 hours a week needed to get over that hump, what encouragement or feedback would you have for them, Dr. Breck?
Perseverance is huge. Sometimes you just got to not give up. There are so many people that I know, multiple people that got into chiropractic that in my own personal industry that gave up along the way. I was close to giving up. I felt like I was just paddling upstream and didn't know why I was having to work so hard. Saw other people take off like a rocket, and what is wrong with me? And I found out that I was having a baby a month before I got my practice open. So I had that pucker factor, but at the same time,
Right.
I felt like I had to balance out this life, and so balancing out my time with my kids. And looking back, I really wished I had gone all in, 100 hours a week, if not more, when she was early and didn't even know who I was hardly. My wife is feeding her and we're getting very little sleep. But every waking moment I should have put it into the practice because now that I am successful, I'm still putting in more hours now than I think I was then because I didn't really fully appreciate the hard work that's necessary to be successful. And that hump could have been overcome earlier on had I really gone for it full out.
And my understanding is that you are, in the last, 12, 18 months, have really made some improvements?
About 18 months, yeah.
What kind of changes have you made in the last 18 months?
So one of the biggest things is, when I had the partnership with our team, I ended up working out a buyout process that he got to a stage of life and I got to a point where it made sense. And so we created this ridiculous, crazy buyout process. But once I took over the practice, it was a matter of, okay, we've got to get rid of these bad habits, these things that I've done in the past that weren't successful. If we're going to do it differently and continue to be successful in this practice, we've got to do it differently. And so hiring the coach was one of those strategic moves. And that was, I'm coaching with Tim Redmond with Redmond Growth Consulting.
Yeah.
And Tim and I are different personalities, and that's very much intentional because I knew he was going to push me to get outside my comfort zone and do things that I wasn't naturally going to gravitate toward doing. And so having that coach that pushes you, that pulls out, sees the diamond in the rough and helps pull out the diamond and polish you, makes a huge difference.
How is that improved? I'm not asking for you to share, on the radio here your actual sales numbers, but has the coaching and mentorship and going down that proven path, has that doubled your sales or grown your sales by 30% or 10%? Or what kind of growth have you seen in the last 18 months?
So in our patient numbers, we have increased, and we've hit new record highs for weeks, for days. Actually, the day that I took a family vacation, first one in 15 years.
Whoa!
And my daughter's 13, so first one in her life, her real vacation.
What's happening here?
We've taken a 3-day weekend a couple of times. But this is the first time we actually took some time, and we did 4 days in Walt Disney World, Orlando, Florida.
Oh, wow.
And the day I was leaving on that trip, we were flying out after work. We saw a record number of patients that day, and we actually ended up closing the office almost an hour early. So it's amazing what happens when you're motivated.
That's powerful. That's powerful. Now, Chup, you work with a lot of clients. I think of Kevin Lewis as an example.
Yeah.
He's a roofer. And you guys were able to grow this year from, $6 million in sales to
roughly $13 million.
To $13 million. Almost doubled this year.
While
More than
reducing
double.
his workflow. And
how is it possible? Someone out there is listening, and they're going, okay, I'm listening to this show about how to climb Startup Mountain, why most people quit 20% of the way there, and I just want to know specifically, what did you do for Kevin Lewis to help him?
Kevin specifically had, great reputation. He had the relationships in place to grow, but he was personally maxed out 80 to 100 hours a week, every single week.
Every week.
Before the sun comes up, before he's texting me new picture of his new dump truck at 10 p.m. at his office. Got to check it out, dude. And so really what we had to do with him is create an organizational chart and structure within the business to where not every single one of his 60-plus employees is coming to him with every problem. And literally he started shutting his door. He started saying, if you're not one of these 4 people, I love you, but you cannot just come poke your head in and talk to me. And he's working 40 to 60 hours a week, which sounds crazy to some people, but that's literally half of what he was working for the most part.
Yeah.
And so for him, that's kind of how he got unstuck, and now we're able to focus on other ways of growth. And then that's Kevin Lewis for you.
He said no to grow. And that's that Craig Rochelle quote. Craig Rochelle, the pastor of Life Church, we had him on the show, and he was talking about how you have to say no to grow. You've got to learn to set boundaries and be more strategic with your time. And
you have to.
That is powerful. Chup, as you know, we like to end each and every show.
Can I do one more thing?
With a boom. But,
before you boom?
Yeah,
I had one more action item. If you're out there and you're in your first 3 to 5 years and you're still kind of struggling to get going, get whatever you need to get done on your schedule. I see it so many times. People have this crazy endless to-do list, and the business has so much complication and everything going on. What gets scheduled gets done. So block out time to actually work on your business. Yeah. You have to work on your business if you want to get past that initial struggle. So put it on your actual calendar. When are you going to be working on your business?
You heard it here, folks. If you want to make Arab money,
yes,
you must put your to-do list on your schedule. What gets scheduled gets done.
Yes.
What gets scheduled gets done, and then that produces Arab money.
Easy.
We getting Arab money.
How diverse of you, Chuck. That's impressive. That's impressive. You might not
inclusive, yeah.
Very inclusive. You might not have said Arab money, but I know what you think.
I felt it.
And it's my duty to report what you think on this show.
Hey.
Now, Chup, are you psychologically ready?
Pumped, motivated, ready to go.
Okay, we're going to end with a boom. Here we go. Dr. Brecker, you ready?
I'm ready.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1, boom!